Hi, greetings, fellow horror fans. Spoiler look at the Nightmare on Elm Street series now continues on from the Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. In June 1989, a year after the previous film, Alice and Dan have started dating. There is no sign of Freddy Krueger. One day, while taking a shower after having sex with Dan, she has a vision of herself dressed in a nun's habit with a name tag saying Amanda Krueger at a strange asylum. She's attacked by the patients at the hospital but wakes up. The next day, Alice is graduating from high school alongside her new friends Greta, inspiring but reluctant supermodel, Mark, a comic book fan, and Yvonne, a hospital volunteer and swimmer. Alice confides her nightmare to Dan, who tells her she is in control of her dreams. On her way to work, Alice finds herself back at the asylum, where she sees Amanda giving birth to a gruesomely deformed baby. Amanda tries to collect the baby before it escapes, but sneaks out of the operating room. Alice follows the baby into the church where she defeated Freddy in the previous film. The baby finds Freddy's remains and quickly grows into an adult, hinting to Alice that he has found the key to coming back. Alarmed, she contacts Dan, who falls asleep en route to see her. Freddy attacks and electrocutes Dan, turning him to a frightful creature before veering him to oncoming traffic. Alice sees Dan's body come to life and taunts her before she faints. Waking up in hospital, she hears the news of Dan's death and that she's pregnant with his child. In the night, she's visited by a young boy named Jacob, but the next day, Yvonne tells her there are no children on her floor, nor is there a children's ward. Alice tells her friends about Freddy and his lineage. Yvonne refuses to listen, but Mark and Greta are more supportive. That afternoon at a dinner party at her home, Greta falls asleep at the table. She dreams of herself snapping at her mother and ranting over her controlling nature before Freddy arrives and forces Greta to eat her own organs before choking her in front of a laughing audience. In the real world, Greta falls down dead in front of her mother and their guests. Yvonne and Alice visit Mark, who is grieving Greta's death, and a rift forms between them. Mark falls asleep and is nearly killed by Freddy, but Alice saves him before seeing Jacob again. Jacob hints that Alice is his mother. Alice requests that Yvonne get her an early ultrasound and discovers Freddy is using Jacob as a conduit to attack her friends even when she's awake, and has been feeding him his victims to make him like himself. Yvonne and Dan's parents still believe Alice is crazy. Dan's parents insist that she give them the baby when it is born, which Alice refuses. Alice and Mark research Krueger and the nun Amanda. Realizing Amanda was trying to stop Freddy, they investigate her whereabouts and Alice goes to sleep, hoping to find Amanda at the asylum. While there, Freddy lures her away by threatening Yvonne, who has fallen asleep in a jacuzzi. Alice rescues Yvonne, who finally believes her. Mark falls asleep and is pulled into a comic book world, where Freddy turns him into a paper cutout and slashes him to pieces. Alice goes to bed to find Freddy and saves her son. Realizing Freddy has been hiding in her every time she falls asleep and draws Freddy. Realizing Freddy has been hiding in her every time she falls asleep, she draws Freddy out from within herself. Yvonne finds Amanda's remains at the asylum and joins the fight in the dream world, encouraging Jacob to use the power Freddy had been giving him. Jacob destroys Freddy and his infant form is absorbed by his mother. Alice picks up a baby Jacob. Running Alice away, Amanda steals Freddy away in time. Several months later, Jacob Daniel Johnson is enjoying a picnic with his mother, grandfather, and Yvonne. Some children jump rope nearby or humming Freddy's rhyme, hinting Freddy's return. Bum bum bum. So now let's take a look at the production of this movie, beginning with the development. Let's take a look at the production of this movie, shall we? A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master was released in 1988 and quickly became a financial success and the highest-grossing film in the Elm Street series up to that point. With the production of the TV spin-off Freddy's Nightmares taking place as well as a plethora of merchandise available, the profit of the franchise was at its highest point thus far. Screenwriter Leslie Boehm has interviewed in the 2010 documentary Never Sleep Again, originally pitched the basic storyline for The Dream Child to New Line executives during pre-production for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. New Line executive Sarah Risher was pregnant at the time and took exception to the idea of a newborn Freddy Krueger clawing his way out of a woman's womb. After giving birth, Risher herself started to think about the storyline and realized that the teenagers who watched the original Elm Street film in 1984 were now starting to grow up and have their own families, prompting the development of The Dream Child in late 1988. Pre-production of Part 5 was challenging primarily due to the frequently changing script. Director Stephen Hawkins recalled that the bulk of the final film came from Leslie Boehm's script. although John Skip and Craig Spector also added material, causing the Writers Guild of America to intervene when deciding who should ultimately be credited for the film. Baum's original draft had Alice and her friends rehearsing a school performance of Medea and was, in his own words, very weird. Director Hopkins was keen for the film to have more gothic imagery than its predecessors, leading to inserted footage of towers, castles, and a dungeon-like asylum. The final editing on the film was challenging due to the demands made by the MPAA in order to reduce the on-screen violence, blood, and gore. The most altered scenes were those for Dan and Greta, which were edited down several times before the film could be theatrically released with an R rating in the USA. And now let's take a look at the deleted scenes. Several scenes were removed from the film's final cut. The graduation sequence, which showed Alice's father giving her the camera, was significantly reduced. As a result, there are a number of minor continuity errors, such as Alice holding airplane tickets moments before Dan gives them to her as a surprise gift. Upon its release, the movie was subjected to some cuts in the sequences of Dan's, Mark's, and Greta's deaths to avoid being classified X by the MPAA due to their extremely violent and graphic nature. An unrated version of the film, which contained longer, more graphic versions of Dan's, Greta's, and Mark's deaths, was originally released on VHS and Laserdisc formats. In Dan's scene, cables can be seen sliding under the skin of Dan's arm. A large piece of the bike pierces his leg, and the skin on Dan's head is much more graphically torn off while he screams in pain. In Greta's scene, Freddy slices open a doll that begins to bleed, and Greta is shown to have a gaping wound in her stomach, from which Freddy starts to feed her. In Australia, the scenes were cut in cinemas, but restored to the VHS release. Mark's death sequence, Freddy turns him into paper and shreds him before beheading him. The decapitation scene was deleted from the original version of the film. Despite this, the Australian Classification Board did not give it R18+, giving it the lower M15+ rating. As of 2022, United Cinema has yet to officially release the uncut version of the film on DVD or Blu-ray, but extras of these scenes are found in the Nightmare 5 section of the documentary Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy. Yeah, I think it's probably about time that they maybe actually, restore those scenes, in some way for him. Just saying, so yeah. So as the conclusion of the Dream Trilogy, I think this one is okay, and I kind of upset that Dan died because I actually really liked him in the previous movie, and I was hoping he would survive this one, but sadly that was not the case, so there you go. So overall, I give Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, 3 Freddy gloves out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in next time as we take a look at the next film in this series, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. So, until then, remember everyone, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.